Any Persona fan will tell you that one of the strongest aspects of the series is its characters. The heroes of Persona are mostly ordinary teenagers, but over the course of the game they are challenged and faced with their own fears and anxieties, sometimes as metaphor and sometimes literally through gameplay. Through Persona, you understand what makes these kids who they are, all of their complexities, faults, dreams, and aspirations. And through the course of the journey, you help them grow and shape themselves into the best version of themselves they can be. So how do you cram all of that into a fighting game? Persona spin-off games are interesting. I doubt many will argue that Persona works best as an RPG. Its stories are paced to be drawn out over the course of an 80-hour adventure where every character is given an opportunity for deep exploration of their innermost complexes. The Persona RPGs use their gameplay to tell that kind of story, with its mechanics encouraging players to interact with its characters and learn about them. Persona spin-off games maintain the challenge of telling that kind of story using a completely different style of gameplay, and each of them approach it in a uniquely different way. For example, the Persona dancing games do this by expressing aspects about characters through their chosen form of dance, conveying a character's personality, attitude, and outlook using only rhythm and movement. Among all of the Persona spin-offs, this is where Persona 4 Arena faces the biggest challenge, adapting characters from an 80-hour RPG into a fighting game. That's not to say that making a fighting game out of an RPG is impossible. Other fighting games have done it before to varying degrees of success. What I am saying is that the philosophy of fighting game character design seems like the exact polar opposite of Persona's character design direction. The whole point of Persona characters is that they're ordinary teenagers, except for the robot, the bear mascot, and the talking cat. Granted, they are all extremely pretty and stylish, but their designs are meant to be more grounded and reserved, because you learn about who they are over the course of extended interactions with them. By contrast, fighting game characters wear what they are on the outside. The most important moment of anyone getting into a brand new fighting game is the moment they hit this character select screen, where you have precious few seconds to decide who you are going to fight as. And a well-designed character can convey everything about a character in a single glance. If you just compare the two schools of thought, you might immediately think that the Persona kids don't look like compelling fighting game characters at all. It would be like trying to make a fighting game out of a visual novel. Wait a second. Okay, it would be like trying to make a fighting game out of a musical. Oh, god damn it. You know what? Let's just talk about Chie. If you haven't played Persona 4, and you really should, it's on Steam, you can play it on your PC, here's the cliff notes. Chie is an ordinary teenage girl from the small backwater town of Yasuinaba. She's a tomboy who loves kung fu and steak skewers, and often finds that her hobbies and mannerisms conflict with her feelings about femininity and her appearance, compared to her best friend Yukiko, who is beautiful, wholesome, and popular with boys. Eventually, Chie has to confront her insecurities about her jealousy and ultimately accept and love who she is. When she enters the TV world, she fights by using kung fu, fully embracing her hobby as part of her identity. Her arcana is the Chariot, representing courage and initiative in the face of adversity. Even with that grossly abridged summary of Chie's character arc, that's a lot to unpack for what's essentially just a girl in a green sweater. Thankfully, Chie has the simplest transition into fighting games because she does kung fu, and by then, Arc Systems has had plenty of experience doing kung fu characters in the past. So what makes Chie's kung fu any different? Well, she kind of sucks at it. No, I'm serious. Chie does not formally practice kung fu. She doesn't study or take any lessons. She just watches a bunch of kung fu movies and then goes to the park to practice backflips and flying kicks. For all intents and purposes, Chie is not a real martial artist. And while you never really get to experience that in Persona 4, this is where Persona 4 Arena uses its animation to express an idea that the original game could not. There are plenty of animations where Chie is striking a phony pose or straight out copying famous kung fu stars. This isn't to say that Chie is a lousy fighter like Dan or something. She's still athletic enough to throw a real kick. But what it means is that she doesn't really know the proper form, and she's just doing whatever she thinks is cool that she saw in a movie. But if she doesn't know real kung fu, then how is she doing this? To explain that, I'll first have to interpret some concepts about fighting and combat in Persona 4. Compared to the other series titles, Persona 4 is perhaps the most abstract in terms of characters' weaponry and fighting styles. In Persona 3, your characters are armed with mostly traditional weapons. In Personas 1, 2, and 5, your characters are armed to the teeth with all manners of melee weaponry and guns. But in Persona 4, your characters are wielding shoes, paper fans, and whatever heavy thing Kanji can get his hands on. In Persona, characters are able to do battle by calling upon their namesake, the persona, the manifestation of their willpower and inner strengths. While in the TV world, this allows the investigation team to do battle and call upon powers they don't normally have in the real world. I like to think that a character's choice of weapon isn't so much a means to do harm, but also an expression of the self. It's why Yukiko's paper fan does as much damage as Narukami's sword, because Yukiko internalizes strength as grace, elegance, and the traditions she inherited from her family. Even Naoto's gun, which is a real functioning weapon, has less power as a firearm than as a symbol of Naoto's tool for exacting justice. Whatever it is that you believe in, your persona turns it into your strength, and Chie believes in kung fu. A lot of traditional kung fu movies are about empowerment and the struggle against adversity. A kung fu hero often finds themselves greatly outnumbered or looked down upon by an overpowering foe, but kung fu gives the smaller man the power to triumph against all odds, much like the chariot. So even if Chie's kung fu isn't real, the power of Persona makes it real. Every character in Persona 4 Arena has animations that really capture each individual's expressions of inner strength, but I think Chie's animation is exceptional in how it expresses a concept that the original game couldn't. I know I've been waxing poetic about what is essentially a very small and nigh unnoticeable animation quirk, but that's precisely what's so great about fighting game animation. Every minute detail of an animation can express so much about a character, even something as complex as one's inner self. That's all for today's animation excellence. This video was not influenced in any way by me being a huge Chie fan. Let me know in the comments what you think about Chie's animation or Persona 4 Arena, and don't forget to leave a like. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more anime and game content from SugarPunch. Check out our Patreon for early access to all of our future videos. I'm a.b.i., and I'll see you guys later.